Oh, can you believe it? We're already in election countdown mode. Now, from an electoral democracy point of view, social and digital media has been a game changer for all stakeholders, including electoral management bodies, political parties, candidates, and of course, voters themselves. And despite it having allowed people to have access to and share information instantly, it has also opened up room for misinformation. Now, it's partly with this in mind that today the IEC, in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme in South Africa, will host a conference for African election management bodies on the impact of social media on the integrity of elections. The three-day conference gets underway in Cape Town today, and joining us from our studios in Sea Point is IEC Vice Chairperson Janet Love. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Ms. Love.
Good morning, Sakina. Good morning to you and the viewers.
Ms. Love, just looking at the South African electoral context, what precisely necessitated the convening of this conference?
Well, I think a lot of people in this country are a lot more sensitive to issues of disinformation and the fact that, as you said in your introduction, social media has huge potential to enable people to voice views and to exchange information, but it also can spread very rapidly panic, uncertainty, and factual information that is inaccurate and incorrect. And so that has got a very big distortion effect. So in the continent, this is not something that is South Africans' experience, the experience of us alone. It's experienced all over in the continent. And different election management bodies want to come together to exchange views, to exchange lessons, and to try and go forward to see how we can improve things, manage things better, but also to figure out some of the threats and the risks that we need to attend to as we go forward.
Now, just how big a challenge has social media become to the elections process?
Well, I think that there are some things that, as I've indicated, are more apparent. And the issue of disinformation is something that different people have experienced in different ways. They've kind of opened up their Facebook page and received some post, or their Twitter feed and Instagram, and something has shocked them only to find that this is factually nonsense. But what I think is less clear to people is the fact that in our society we share a huge amount of data. And this data, whether it's our buying patterns, our viewing patterns on Netflix and Showmax and whatever, all of these things provide a huge amount of information about who we are, what we think, and particularly what fears we have. And this big data is data that is abused by many people who have used it to manipulate election results and election processes. There is, I think, what has become a better known experience of an organization which has now been forced to close, called Cambridge Analytica, which played a very big role in influencing the United States elections, and its parent company also has been proven to have had a very big role in terms of the Brexit referendum. The point about that is not which way that any of those results would have gone, but it's the fact that what is happening is that advertising companies are using psychosocial tools in order to distort information, to prey on people's fears, and in that way to help organizations, political parties, candidates win elections, win referenda, and it's not really providing people with intelligent information in order to make informed decisions.
So are there any solid proposals on the table at this stage to try and curb these negative trends, or indeed the trend of fake news during election processes?
I think there are a number of measures that have already been put on the table, and some of them are in place. These include, for example, within the international sphere, there are a number of voluntary practices that the different platforms have associated themselves with. In South Africa, in our last election, as you may know, we had the internet service providers agree also on a voluntary basis to assist the Electoral Commission to ensure that serious abuse was dealt with in a way that was a lot more effective, and they helped us for those sites that are not using the conventional platforms. In addition to that, in South Africa, as you probably know, we've got the information regulator covered in the new legislation, not so new anymore, the POPI Act. And the protection of private information is really very, very important. There are clearly a lot of experiences that we need to harness in order to balance out the importance of freedom of expression on the one hand, but also ensuring that abuse doesn't happen. One of the things, Sakina, that I think is important is just to remember all the time that social media provides us with new opportunities, many of which are positive. That's something that we don't want to close down. What we're wanting to do is to ensure that in this new digital environment, we make sure that abuse is something that is curtailed.
And just in the final analysis, who will be participating in this event?
We have over 170 delegates, primarily from election management bodies across the continent. There are around 35 election management bodies that have confirmed representation. And we have expert presentations that are coming from different corners of the world in order to enrich the practical experience that our colleagues have had in different parts of our continent, to enrich that experience with additional insights and information.
Well, thank you so much for your time this morning. And that is IEC Vice Chairperson Janet Love talking to us about a conference that gets underway in Cape Town today for the next 3 days. And we're talking there about looking at ways in which to factor in the impact of social media and, of course, the digital space in our electoral processes. With that, it's over to Vela.